Welcome to the ORCA. The Independent Contractors and Businesses Association has released its annual wage and benefits survey tracking trends in the construction industry, and it contains both good and bad news. Let's deal with the good news. Construction workers can expect an average of 5.1% increase in wages this year, another 5.3% next year. Now the bad news. The majority of construction companies think the BC government is headed in the wrong direction when it comes to managing the economy. Now, to talk further about this, we're joined by Gardner, the President of ICBA. He joins us here in the ORCA studios. Hello there.
Hello, great to be back.
Great to have you back. So where do you want to start? The good news? Let's give the good news.
Yeah, the good news.
The happy news. The industry is thriving in this province. Yeah. Construction is booming everywhere. Business forecasts are strong for the future. Lots of opportunity for long-term, well-paid jobs for young people. But, there's always a but, we've got this huge labor shortage. So big, in fact, that some companies have to turn down business because they don't have the workers. How do you deal with that?
Well, you know, it's an enormous challenge. There's a couple of aspects to it. First of all, well over half of our members are projecting increased work volumes for 2019. That's positive. However, nearly every one of our members is facing a shortage of skilled workers, and that's across every trade. So it's pipe fitters, formers, steel fabricators, plumbers, carpenters, electricians. So nearly every trade is having, this is one of the strongest construction markets in decades. And last year was a very, very strong year, and this year looks like it's going to be another strong year. And so the challenge we have in construction is that we don't have enough people going into the industry, into the trades. But I will also say that it's the same in the restaurant sector, the hotel sector, retail, teachers, nurses. And the reality is in Canada, we're going over a demographic cliff. So it is a challenge for construction, but it's a challenge across our economy.
But I want to add to that the stigma, because for the longest time, there was this stigma where parents would say, I don't want my children going into blue-collar work. I want them to go to university and have a profession.
Right.
How do you fight that stigma?
Well, that still exists, and I do think it is changing. I think it is getting better. There's more of an emphasis on trades, and as people are in high school, students are starting to look at careers. There is more of an emphasis on, hey, let's not forget the exciting opportunities that there are in pursuing a trade. And it's not only just learning that skill and performing that work during your career, but there's an entrepreneurial aspect to it. A lot of people forget that most construction companies are 20 employees or less. They're small businesses. So you learn a skill, you work for a few years honing that, and you have an exciting opportunity to start your own company and hire people and grow a business. And some people end up growing those businesses to 50, 100 or more employees. So it's a very exciting opportunity. So the trades isn't just about doing the work. That's an important part of it. But there are so many opportunities that flow from learning those skills that I do agree with you that it's not fully appreciated. And it's something that we've got to continue to work harder at, ensuring that young people understand the exciting opportunities, the wages and the benefits that are now part of every construction trade, and the opportunities to create your own company.
And when you talk about wages, a lot of people are going to say, well, how much can I make if I go into the construction business? What's the average wage?
Well, the average wage across all trades is approaching $30.
$30 an hour.
And that's $30 an hour without benefits, bonuses, profit sharing, and retirement and health benefits. So you add all that on, and your average wage is going to be getting close to $100,000. And if you're more senior, your compensation package will be higher.
Now let's talk about the bad news, and that is the government. And the majority of your members indicated to you through your survey that they're not happy with the direction this government is taking the economy. You want to expand on that?
Well, it's a concern when you look at Victoria and you say, well, the biggest challenge that we're facing in the industry right now is a government policy that says if you want to work on infrastructure projects like the Patella Bridge replacement or the expansion of Highway Number 1 from Kamloops to the Alberta border, that you have to join a building trades union. Not any union, but you have to be a member of the building trades union.
One that's sanctioned by the government.
And they represent only 15% of the construction workforce. And the second part of that policy says that everyone will effectively be an employee of a Crown corporation. So if you are working right now for a company, you've been working for this company for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you've got your benefit plan all organized and you're part of a bonus or profit sharing program, that will all have to come to an end. You'll have to leave all that behind, join one of the building trades unions, enroll in a new benefit plan, and then perform the work. And then after a year or two of working on the project, you would conceivably stop, end all those programs, try and get some of that money back, and then go and rejoin your employer's bonus and health and benefit plan.
So what's the attraction for the employee? I don't see any.
There's none, and it's very confusing. And we're creating needless bureaucracy. We're increasing. We're taking away choice and flexibility from workers. We're increasing costs to taxpayers because they're creating a new level of bureaucracy. They're creating a new crown corporation. And in a market where the biggest problem is finding enough workers, why on earth would the government say, well, we're going to give this opportunity only to 15% of the construction workforce? It's insane. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So we're challenging that in court, and our first day in court will be February 27th. And we're joined by the BC Construction Association, the Vancouver Regional Construction Association, CLAC, which is a progressive union. It represents about 10,000 workers in British Columbia. The Canada West Construction Union, which represents another 3,000 workers in this province. The BC Chamber of Commerce, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. We've got a very broad coalition that's saying this doesn't make sense for workers, it doesn't make sense for taxpayers, it's wrong, it's unfair, and it's discriminatory.
So then the question has to be, why is the government doing this? Have you got any thoughts on why the government's doing
Well,
it?
I think, most times when any government goes out to make a significant change in policy, they put together a panel or a committee and they consult with stakeholders. There's some process by which government says, we think there's a problem in this area and we're going to go seek the opinions of British Columbians and experts on how we solve the problem. In this case, they didn't do that. This was purely a backroom deal with the building trades unions. There was no white paper, there was no committee, there was no recommendations, there was no invitation for people to come in and give their views on how we can procure construction services better.
Is this an example of the NDP government that's trying to placate its base, which traditionally has been organized labor?
I think that is a big part of it because nothing else explains it. The policy on its face makes no sense in this current hot, very active construction market. It doesn't make any sense when you look at the shortage of skilled labor and the government is effectively directing all the work to 15% of the construction workforce. It's not fair. It's not democratic. It's not the way Canadians operate, and it's not fair. So we're challenging it in court. We don't think it should stand, and we think the courts will agree with us.
But hypothetically, and I know you don't like to talk in hypotheticals, but let's say the government gets its way, and government on the work on the Patella Bridge will be restricted to those in the building trades union. Mm-hmm. A, are there enough workers available to build that? And B, to do it on time and on budget?
Well, I think here's where they're going to have a problem. A lot of companies are basically saying, well, why are we going to bid that project when we're really busy with all these other projects? And
yeah, there's more than enough work to go around right now.
That's right. It's so complicated to figure out how to respond to this RFP. So the government's going to find themselves in a situation where a lot of companies are going to say, you know what, I'm going to take a pass on that. So they'll have fewer bidders. That will drive prices up. And because it's so complicated and bureaucratic to figure out how you're going to crew up all of your workers from the 15% of the workforce, all coming from union hiring halls, I think the schedules will be extended, so projects will be delayed, and they'll be more expensive. So taxpayers are going to pay the price, and so are workers. Denied opportunities and not having the choice and flexibility that they deserve.
Okay, let's end on the good news again. As I mentioned off the top, the business is thriving in BC, and the future looks very bright.
Well, this is a tremendous part of the world in which to live. We're all blessed to be here. Tremendous opportunities. We just need governments at all levels to come up with approaches to getting major projects approved that make sense for British Columbians. Too often, we debate and we take too long to get projects approved, or we lose opportunities. So Energy East is a great example of TransCanada spent $1 billion on a $17 billion project to get to a no. Keystone did not go through. Kinder Morgan is mired in controversy. We took too long to review Site C and get an approval there. The Canada Line SkyTrain, when it was built, the enormous amount of debate that went on to get that that piece of infrastructure that makes so much sense for the commuting public was voted down twice by the mayors of Metro Vancouver.
Everybody loves it now.
And so we need to do a better job of getting projects approved. And when you look at housing affordability, I know you've spent a lot of time on this, we need to be able to increase supply at a faster rate. It should not take 3 to 4 years to approve a high-rise condo development and another 3 to 4 years to build it, so that we end up taking 8 years to get a new high-rise onto the market where people can move in. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to help affordability. And so the bureaucracy, the decision-making process has to be streamlined.
Chris, always a pleasure. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.